Hello everyone. In this video we will be rectifying the horoscope of Miles Davis. Now this rectification I did it with the help of Isaac Starkman. Now before we get into the rectification, let's comment a bit on this horoscope. Now one of the greatest indicators of his talent in playing his instrument is having the sun and the ascendant in Gemini. Now in my rectified time, both of them are in conjunction with each other. So this is an indicator of his talent in playing his instrument. That's number one. Now one of the main events in his life again is him being shot while sitting in a car. And this event is justified by the placement of the ruler of the ascendant in the 12th house and its reception of an opposition from the moon and Saturn, the moon being in a bad cosmic condition, also the square of Neptune and the square of Jupiter. This is actually what we call a cosmic cross, and you see here it plays out in his life, affecting his career, his daily activity, and his work in the studio. So daily activity, profession, successful profession with the Jupiter, hidden activity with Mercury and Neptune over this axis, well, not axis, over these two houses, the 12th and the 4th. Again, weakness in the organ of the body related to the area of the throat. He has surgery to remove polyps, and he ends up losing his voice when the doctors told him not to use it, and he gets into an argument and he shouts and he loses his voice. Okay, so again, just one thing. In the rectified time, the ascendant only receives one harmonic aspect from Uranus, and it's 6 degrees wide. One of the contributing factors to his short life is the lack of harmonic aspects to the ascendant, and the placement of the ruler of the ascendant in the 12th, and all the stress it receives from these malefic planets, Neptune and Saturn, the moon in a bad cosmic condition, and the square of Jupiter. Now he also has, he gets a liver infection, and he has surgery on his hips. And again, I think an aspect that justifies that is these two planets here squaring Jupiter. Now Jupiter is known to rule the area of the hips, and it also rules the liver. Even the square of Mercury contributes, of course. Okay, so now let's get into the rectification. Well, first, of course, we need a list of important events. Now what I'd like to begin with almost all of the time is I pick 2-3 events, and I see how in transit, and I see how they fit with the base horoscope. Now if you look at the event where his father dies, okay, one of the main aspects here is the square of Pluto to ascendant and descendant axis, which justifies the death of his father. Now you also here have the square of Neptune to the IC, MC, even the trine of Saturn here. But for me, I'd like to use this aspect here. And of course, with the operative orb for aspects in transit is established at 6 degrees and 30 minutes. Okay, so from here we will increase the degree of the ascendant to this limit. So right now it's 1.5 degrees away. If the difference here is 1.5 degrees, so I will just increase it until it's about 6 degrees and 30 minutes. 1 degree is about 4 minutes. But just look here, the ascendant moves up. Let's move the ascendant. So it's 9. Okay, so it's to be exact. Okay, so the difference here is 6 degrees. So it's 14 and 0 minutes. It's okay. So it's now 6 degrees and 30 minutes. The maximum time here is 11:20. Okay, so the maximum time for the aspect is 11:20. Now for the minimum time, we decrease the ascendant until it's 6 degrees and 30 minutes in the negative. So that would be one degree of Gemini, because the difference here is 6 degrees and 30 minutes. Okay, and the time is, so this is max and this is the minimum time. Okay, so that's this is when the aspect is operative, because beyond this time, this aspect doesn't appear, and if it doesn't appear, then and it's a very suitable aspect for the death of his father, then what other aspect justifies it? And this is the aspect I chose to work with. Now, what we do when we have our time here is we plug in the our max is 11:20 and oops. Okay. Okay, now here, now this is a critical part of the entire thing, because if we make one mistake, we're finished basically. But with the help of Isaac Starkman, we were able to find this time together, 10:46:48. That's fine, 8 seconds of difference won't make well. Okay. Now what we do now is we go through all these events and we look for a proper symbolism. Like for example here, for the birth of his son, this aspect appears. The death of his son, look at the movement of the ascendant. The ascendant comes to a conjunction with Neptune. Death of his father. Look here. Look at this exact conjunction between Saturn and the part of fortune. The 8th house moves to a conjunction with both of these elements. And so on and so forth. This is for the death of his brother. The IC moves to a conjunction with the sun. We can also check secondary directions. Death of his sister. Look at the square of the 3rd house with the Venus. Very appropriate. Also for the death of his sister here. Sorry, excuse me, for the death of his wife, we see the moon in opposition to the south node. So the moon moves from here to here. So it's a conjunction, so it moves from here to here, opposes the south node. The south node is seen as a malefic, and the moon is related to women, so the death of his wife. One other thing we can look at is solar return aspects. If you look at the death of his sister, solar return aspects are the aspects the solar return imposes on the radix. Here we have Venus opposing the 8th house, Venus related to women opposing the 8th house, 8th house related to death. And the orb we apply here is 1 degree. Here, this is interesting. I mean, you can see here Mercury, there's a Mercury-Saturn conjunction that opposes the 8th house. Of course, Mercury related to siblings, the 8th house related to death, Saturn as well related to not particularly death, but it's seen in the death of siblings. Such a conjunction also opposes the 8th. I mean, here we can extend the orb a bit beyond the 60 degrees. For the death of his brother, here we can see the opposition of Mercury to the descendant. Now it's interesting in this solar return, although we do not know his location, where he was, the opposition of Mercury and Pluto, Mercury related to siblings and Pluto related to death. It's interesting. Even the exact conjunction of the Sun and Mercury. That's basically it. This is how I rectified the horoscope of Miles Davis, of course with the help of Isaac Starkman. Thank you guys for watching, and if you liked the video, please leave a comment and subscribe.